I'm Dani Himmelman, and I live in St. Margaret's Bay, Nova Scotia. I had been suffering from depression and anxiety really probably all my life, and eventually realized that what I suffer from is something called dysthymia. And I think it's one of those illnesses that flies below the radar. It's mild enough that you somehow can struggle through, but there's a lot of effort, a lot of struggling that goes on to keep that day-to-day life going. And it's every day. It's not just a bad few days or a bad week here or there. It's constantly an effort. And I just thought it was me, that it was a defect in me, and that I needed to use classic phrases, pull up my bootstraps, get my act together, that it was my fault. And I lived that way for many, many years, feeling inadequate. And it was really only when my two daughters became quite ill in junior high and I watched their symptoms developing and I started to read. I could tick off those boxes and say, wow, maybe this is what's been going on with me. And that's what led me to actually seek help myself. Our two daughters that had the mental health difficulties were our oldest daughter, Jenna, and our second oldest daughter, Stephanie, who is 2 years younger than Jenna, and our youngest daughter, Kristen, who is 4 years younger than the other sisters, did not have those kinds of mental health issues, thankfully. Jenna struggled so long and so hard for 10 or 11 years with an illness that she was never really able to get a total grip on. And so watching her go through that and then essentially losing that battle, and maybe that's not the right terminology to be using, but it felt like a war. And to lose that was overwhelming. But I just felt that her bravery in dealing with her illness for all those years and fighting as hard as she did is important. And it really reflects the fight and the energy that so many people are putting into mental illness for themselves. Jenna died in November of 2004. She was 23 years old. The things that I probably spend the most time doing right now are working as a family representative voluntarily on a number of committees within the mental health program. That's the Capital District Mental Health Program in Halifax. And right now there's a very strong initiative to develop a much more collaborative approach to patient and family care. It's important to me to get out there and to talk about this so that people will, unlike myself, they'll identify the issues, the mental health issues they're having early on and get help before things get much worse. They'll be able to see the issues that their children are having and deal with those and not judge them, but search for the support that they need and do it early. Early identification is so important. And then family support and education is really key. We know that people who have a mental illness or any chronic illness do so much better. The outcomes are so much better when they have strong, supportive families around them. And families can't do that on their own. There is no guidebook that comes to know how to deal with these kinds of issues. So we need to be educating and supporting families, and families can do that for one another really very well, but we have to make sure that those opportunities are there. One of the things I think people need to understand is that suicide is a very complex issue. There are no simple fixes, but I really believe that with better supports, more understanding, more resources, and better access to resources in a really timely fashion when people are really suffering and really needing help the most, we can change those statistics. There are many people that can be saved if we can change the way that we deliver and provide services to those people. There is hope.